Hey guys, it's Shelby, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about how living sustainably can be more affordable, can save you money, is cheaper, etc. I want to preface this by saying I'm not definitively saying that sustainable living is always cheaper in every scenario, because that just wouldn't be true. As a matter of fact, I asked you guys on Instagram if you personally found that living sustainably was more or less expensive, and it's very divided right now, 50-50. I think this depends very much on two things. Number one, what was your lifestyle before? Were you purchasing a lot of things before? Were you a hyper consumer? Did you buy all disposable things? Did you not always buy the cheapest thing at the grocery store, you know? Or were you someone who tried to reuse everything you have, which is already sustainable? Are you someone who shops only like budget aisles and clearance bins? Someone who is living on a really tight fixed income, etc.? Did you go out and buy all the new things? Did you start buying from sustainable brands? Or did you decide, hey, I'm just gonna take a step back, start looking at my footprint and slowly replace things as I go? I think all of these factors really depend on if sustainable living overall for you is more expensive or less expensive. For me personally, it has been a huge money saver, and we'll get into that, but I wanted to give you guys all the reasons I could think of today off the top of my head how saving the planet can also save you money. I do have a previous video like this, but I think it's been buried and people can't find it because I've been getting a lot of requests for this lately, so I decided let's do it again, let's reshare it because people seem to want it. So without further ado, here is whatever this number is. I don't know off the top of my head. It's a lot of ways that you can save money while saving the planet. So my biggest tip and why living sustainably has definitely been cheaper for me is because I simply buy so much less. If you've been on this channel for a while, then you know my personal philosophy when it comes to eco-minimalism. If you don't know what that means already, that means you should probably hit the subscribe button. But my personal philosophy of eco-minimalism basically means to purchase as few things as we can to have the smallest footprint on the earth as we can, because everything we buy has a footprint, from the resources it took to grow or mine that item, the energy and greenhouse gases associated with producing it, and then obviously what happens with that item once you are inevitably done with it. Can it be recycled? Can it be composted? Can it be repurposed? When you think about all of these things, you inevitably buy a lot less. And so that's why this lifestyle saves me so much money. That's why I'm always preaching about it in this way, because where I was coming from being a hyper consumer to now practicing eco-minimalism, I've saved a ton of money. One of my most recent favorite ways that living sustainably has saved me money is using a no-buy Facebook group. Madison and I, for the entire month of January, have been doing a massive declutter over there. We're doing the minimalism challenge, and that's kind of how I finally got into all of the no-buy groups in my area. So basically, I'll leave a link below if you guys want to check out the website, but there's a website where you can go and search which neighborhood would be closest to you, so that then you can buy that no-buy Facebook group, or you can join. And basically, this is a group of people who believe in the same sort of idea as buying as little as possible for many reasons, right? So that you can be more minimalistic, have less clutter in your home, not support brands and not create resource demand for more products to be made, and obviously to save money. The third thing would be to buy things secondhand. Obviously, this is much more affordable. It surprises me how often people in my life don't do this, like how it's not their first thought process to always check secondhand first, not just for the reasons of saving the planet and using what's already here, but also to save money. And this goes for anything. I could say this about clothes, I could say this about household appliances, I could say this about homes, cars, everything. I try to buy literally everything I ever buy secondhand first, always. And one of the biggest areas I've saved money by doing that over time is by purchasing all of my tech secondhand. So everything I use to run this channel, from my laptop to the camera I'm talking to you on right now, to the phone that I'm using as a little monitor right here, all secondhand. And that's why I'm super pumped to partner with Trademore on this video again, because I talked about them recently and you guys really like them, so they wanted to work with me again, which is amazing, and I appreciate that. So if you didn't hear me talk about Trademore in my other video, I'll link that video here if you missed it, because it was a good one. But basically, Trademore is a service where you can buy, sell, and trade iPhones, smartphones, they even do Apple Watches. And obviously, buying a phone secondhand means that you're using something that has already been put on this earth, and you're not purchasing something new, creating demand for more resources to make more phones. Personally, I think it's the most sustainable way to get a phone or any sort of tech, and also obviously the theme of this video, it will save you money. So Trademore has a 30-point inspection to make sure that anything that you buy from them is an excellent quality, because only things with 100% satisfaction from that check get sold on Trademore. With their 30-point inspection combined with their 100% approval rating, it's a really great place to be able to purchase a secondhand phone. Plus, they have a 30-day return period, so if anything funky happens or if you're worried about it, you can trust them. And yeah, super grateful to have Trademore partner with me on this video because obviously it's a way to help the planet and to save money, so I'll have them linked at the top of the description if you want to check them out. Next is quality over quantity. Buying one thing that is really, really good quality, maybe cost you a couple dollars more, is going to last you a lot longer and going to be cheaper in the long run than buying cheaper made things that are shit quality. I find this applies a lot to kitchen appliances, right? So things like toasters, mixers, coffee makers, all that sort of stuff. There is something called planned obsolescence baked into a lot of these things to make things shitty quality so that they do fail and that you continue to buy from the company and so that they make more money. But we don't want to be supporting brands that do that. So support quality over quantity and it will save you money over time. Living sustainably also means that you don't buy into trends and you don't upgrade every single time something new comes out. Whether that be clothing or tech like we already talked about, or the weirdest things can trend. But by being removed from those trends, by not always trying to keep up, that is a more sustainable way to live and obviously results in you spending less money. Also, another way that I've saved money by living sustainably is changing my hobbies. Please let me know in the comments. Do you personally see people in your life who use consumerism as their main hobby? Because I used to, and literally like everyone in my life does. I'm going to stop trying to out my friends and family. I'm not going to say who they are from now on when I reference them. But this does not just apply to people who have a disposable income or who are very, very wealthy. This is the average American does these things. Also, statistics prove this, but I'm going to give you my anecdotal experience. So someone came to visit me, not recently, actually before the pandemic, but they came to visit me in my home for the first time. They got to see it. I remember they left to go do something while I was working. They came back and they were like,
"Did you know you have a Dollar Tree at the front of your neighborhood?"
And I was like,
no.
Because while I was working, they needed something to do. So that inherent idea for them to go and do something was to just go to the dollar store where everything's $1 so that they could browse the aisles and buy things that they didn't need. Honestly, it's just a habit and it's in our culture. It's baked into our society that consumerism is a pastime. So having hobbies that are not consumer based but more experience based, hiking, gardening, that's been my most recent favorite. Having hobbies outside of consumerism is obviously going to save you money. Borrowing instead of buying. So my birthday was a couple weekends ago. You guys might have seen that if you follow me on the IG. And my sister and her husband were here, Madison, me. So I was making food for more people than I'm used to, and I don't have a pot that was big enough to make what we were making. And naturally, I think a lot of people's first instinct would be, oh, I need to go get that pot because I want to make this thing. I don't have the pot. I'm gonna go buy it. But for me, I was like, well, surely one of the neighbors that we talked to on the block has a pot big enough for me to use. I asked Madison, because she's the more outgoing one, if she could text all of our neighbors and ask them if they had a pot that I needed. One of them did. So instead of running to my local home goods store and buying a giant pot for me to use, realistically probably only this one time because it's not something I would use consistently, I tried to see if there was something I could borrow, which obviously resulted in me spending a lot less money to get that thing. Repairing is also a super essential thing to do if you're worried about sustainability. And this can come in so many different ways, from our clothes to our household appliances, trying to push against planned obsolescence by actually repairing things. Repair is definitely a way to make your things last longer. Therefore, you're not spending so much money. You also use less electricity when you're trying to live a sustainable lifestyle. So you become a lot more aware of your footprint because it emits greenhouse gases, which contributes to climate change, and we don't want to be doing that. So a few ways that I know that you can save on your electricity bill would be to hang dry your clothes, obviously to turn off lights when you leave a room, unplug electronics as well, because many of them are still pulling electricity even when they're not being used, but when they're still plugged in. So unplug them when they're not in use. Organize your refrigerator to optimize efficiency and also to lower the footprint, or I guess the energy needs of your fridge. Also, just having your fridge organized so that you know where something is when you reach in to get it, so you're not leaving the door open and a bunch of air isn't escaping. Just a side note, I have a video actually where I organized my fridge to be more sustainable, so I'll link it up here if you want to check that out. Along with electricity, you can also look into your city, your state, or even federal in some cases, green energy credits. So there are different projects you can do on your home that then you can either file on your taxes and you get a break when you do your taxes, or they have rebate programs, or they have like loan programs, like grants that give you money to implement those things into your house. Obviously, in the long run, having those green energy things are going to save you money on your electricity bill. But if the government will give you some of your money back for doing those things, it's even better. And along with conserving energy, we also want to be conserving water. But obviously, we pay for the water that we use. Most of us do, I think. And so by using less, obviously that bill goes down. This next little section is things that you would not be purchasing or things that you would purchase the reusable version of, so you're saving money in the long run by using those things over and over instead of constantly repurchasing, every week, every month, every year, etc. First up is period items, okay? So reusable period items over the long run are definitely more sustainable, but also going to save you money, especially if you use something like the Diva Cup. It's a really, really low upfront cost investment. It literally will pay itself off in like a few months. Things take a little bit longer to work themselves out, but in the long run, they are cheaper. And if you guys didn't know, I do use Thinx reusable period underwear for my period exclusively. I don't use anything else. And I actually have an entire period routine video if you want to go learn more about them, and I probably will do another one coming up because I still get so many questions about it. But reusable period items, obviously better for us and our wallets. Stasher bags, so reusing stasher bags instead of constantly buying and using single-use plastic bags. I honestly think they're more convenient and they just make me feel a lot better when I'm not putting my food into plastic. So stasher bags definitely save you money in the long run. Same thing with water bottles. I don't know how many people are still drinking out of plastic water bottles, but obviously a reusable bottle is going to be cheaper than constantly buying bottled water because the price markup on bottled water is literally like 200 times what you pay for it when it comes out of your tap. That's ridiculous to me. Safety razors, they also will pay themselves off in the course of like, I think a few months. I personally don't shave, but I know one of the reasons I stopped shaving was because it was so damn expensive. So if you switch to a safety razor where you get to use the same razor basically for the rest of your life and the blades to replace it are super cheap, going to help the planet and your wallet. Not buying paper towels, that's a really, really wasteful thing to do in terms of money and the planet. Using reusables is obviously going to save both of those things. Same thing with jars, not purchasing jars to store things or any sort of storage cube, any sort of whatever. Organizational tool, if you will. Not buying any of those things and instead reusing things you already have is going to be cheaper that way. Same thing with plates and like disposable ware. Every time I talk about this, it seems that people outside the US are shocked and people inside the US are like,
yeah, my family does that, but
my family always uses disposable plates when I lived back at home instead of reusable plates. So honestly, it's so ridiculous that that is a thing, but obviously cheaper to use reusables than to constantly be buying more disposable plates. Rechargeable batteries are something that you can reuse and reuse and reuse and not use once and throw away. And batteries are expensive. So once again, the rechargeable version going to pay itself off in not much time. Same thing with the air filter. So I have a reusable air filter. We just take it out, spray it off, put it back in there and reuse it so that we're not constantly buying and throwing away more. And cotton rounds. So reusable face things if you want to use them for toner or to remove your makeup. I personally don't use them that much anymore, but I definitely don't buy disposable cotton rounds anymore for the planet. Obviously, I love plants. I like having a variety of plants, so I don't think that this is going to stop me from ever purchasing plants. No, it will never. I do propagate my plants and make more plants, which is a free way to use things I already have to make more of what I was wanting. So if you're into plants and you want more of them, you just snip, snip, snip a few of them and make some new plants. I talked about this before, using glasses over contacts because you can use them for a lot longer. Contacts are obviously disposable items. I said this in one of my past videos about saving money and the planet, and I bragged on Madison for using glasses over contacts because she did for years, and then literally like a month after I made that video, she was like,
I kind of want to use contacts sometimes now.
There are recycling programs for contacts, okay? They're not widely available, but they exist, so you can still use that, but regardless, over time, glasses are cheaper. You can wash your clothes less. I know this is something I've harped on for many years. You don't need to wash your clothes after one wear unless you're like super stinky or you're working out or you're rolling in the mud. Your clothes are probably fine to wear again. Washing clothes less energy, less water, saving the planet and the paper. The paper. Personally, here at our home in San Antonio, recycling and composting is completely free through the city. The only thing we have to pay for is our trash, and there are 3 size trash bins. I don't know if anybody else has this, but this is just a tip that I found out about. But basically, the bigger the trash can, the more expensive it is. We have the smallest one, so we pay the least. Simple. Growing your own food is a way to save money, and I'm so stoked. You guys, growing your own food is so much fun, and I know I'm very privileged to have a space to be able to do that, but you can also do a lot of the things I'm doing in a much smaller space because I've grown Brussels sprouts on my balcony in an apartment before. Strawberries are hanging, I'm looking at them right now. They're hanging in a hanging basket. So if you have a balcony at your apartment, if you have a window that you could hang it next to, you can do a lot of things just in a really small space, and it's so much fun and definitely saves money. I do grocery shop at a few different places just to get all the things that I want in the most sustainable way possible. I have a membership to Thrive Market, which saves me money. I also bulk shop, obviously, at Central Market. I made a video about that recently. I'll link it up here. But I also shop a lot with Imperfect Foods. So every week on Monday, I get to look at what's available so that I can then base the rest of the things I need off of what's available at Imperfect Foods. Compared to grocery store prices, it's just cheaper in general. And then I also have a $10 referral link that you guys can use. It's just like, same, I've talked about this before, but like whenever you sign up to a service and it's like,
Hey, send this to your friends and we'll give them $10 and then you can have $10.
that's basically all it is. I just get credit to use Imperfect Foods with it. Searching or buying from the clearance rack at your grocery store if they have one, shopping from there, food that's destined to like not be eaten, is also going to save you money. Also, in-season foods. So foods that are currently in season are usually marked down a lot cheaper because they're easier to buy or they're on sale. Right now, grapefruits. I'm so excited to eat one right after this, actually. But I always know when grapefruits are in season because they are my favorite and because they're cheaper during that time. So eating seasonally is definitely going to be better for the planet and for your wallet. Having your own compost, if you do have a garden or if you have plants or if you buy any sort of compost or soil or nutrients, if you make your own, then you don't have to buy it. So obvious benefits there. Also, meal planning. So making meal plans based on what you already have is going to save you money, but also save any food that you already have from going bad and getting wasted. DIYs are obviously going to save you money. There are so many different ones you can make. If your concern is saving money, if you want to do this lifestyle cheaper, that is the way to go. I personally do not love to do DIYs, so I am happy to pay sustainable brands to make my deodorant and my toothpaste, but if you want to make those things, you definitely can. So things like tortillas, those are fun and easy to make. Bread, I know making bread is something a lot of people have gotten into, being their quarantine, like stay-at-home activity. Making your own coffee instead of going out and buying it is obviously cheaper, and right now when you can't even use reusable cups, less wasteful. And you can make your own plant milks, which I've gotten some shit recently because I've gotten into. You know what, we're just not even gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk about it on my secret video, on my secret list about my struggles with health right now, but you can make your own plant milks if that is something that you're up for. If you're concerned about saving money, it's definitely a way to do it cheaper. If you don't live in Texas, a state with immense sprawl problems, meaning everything is spread out and giving up your car here is nearly impossible, then give it up. It'll save you a ton of money if you're able to do so, or just driving less, obviously, saves the planet and money. If you're not able to give up a car, definitely having a hybrid vehicle because of how immaculate the MPG is going to save you money. My car was really affordable. Everyone I've talked to who owned a Prius say that they last forever. So this car was a really smart purchase and that it's going to last me a long time, but also in that my miles per gallon are hella high. Also, electric cars in the long run I think are going to be cheaper just because they are more efficient with the energy that they do produce or that they're using, and we're only going to see that get even better. I'll link my Tesla video up here if you haven't seen it. Also, eating less meat. I have obviously not eaten meat in a very long time, but over the holidays I was ordering groceries for my mom because she goes to the grocery store like every day. Like she's very much at risk for this virus, but she's at the grocery store every fucking day. So I was trying to teach her how to do curbside. And so she was telling me what she wanted me to order and I'm adding it to her basket. And I'm realizing how damn expensive meat is. I'm telling you, her grocery bill had to have been like 50% more because of meat that she just literally didn't need to add. Plant-based proteins are much more affordable if you're not buying the mock meat versions. It's definitely cheaper to trade meat-based proteins, animal-based proteins for plant-based proteins. It's just not even a discussion. It's a lot more affordable. Using a bidet is definitely a way to save money. It has cut down the need for toilet paper in this house, I would say, by like half. We definitely don't use nearly as much toilet paper now that we have the bidet, and I love that thing. Also, I have a 10% off code with Tushy, which is the brand that I bought my bidet from, so I'll leave that in the description. But in the long run, it will save you money. I love how I always say but when I'm talking about my bidet. A zero waste swap that I really love and has saved us money is a SodaStream. If you just figure out the right ratio to flavor your water, and all you gotta do is like put it in there and put the carbon in it, then there you go. You're no longer buying plastic bottles, glass bottles, aluminum bottles all the time, and it's definitely going to be cheaper. And also, dumpster diving. We all know that's how this channel was started. The mission of dumpster diving was to tell people, look how much these businesses are freaking wasting, to expose the waste in the American consumer like cycle. My videos didn't come across that way, so I decided to go a different way about talking about sustainability. But dumpster diving is definitely a fun activity. Maybe not right now while there's a deadly virus, but after all of this, and definitely going to save you money if you find things that you can use. The mirror I used to do my makeup every single day, 3 years later, I found it in a dumpster. So I'm just saying. Well, those are all the ways I could think of that I personally save money by living more sustainably and that you could also implement into your life. I hope this video was helpful for you. And I know that during the beginning of the year, a lot of us have financial goals. I know I personally do. So trying to spend less money, I thought this was a relevant topic. And if you have anyone that would benefit from this video, please do share it with them. I think it's a valuable resource. Also, huge thanks to Trademore for sponsoring this video. If you guys are looking for a secondhand phone or smartphone or Apple Watch or whatever you need, definitely check them out. Mark them as a resource for in the future whenever you do decide you need to purchase a phone. I unfortunately need to get one soon because planned obsolescence is getting to my phone. My iPhone 8 Plus. But thank you so much for watching, and remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye guys.